Greetings, nerds. This is SNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very, very well, Sarah. How are you doing this Wednesday evening?
Yeah, it's Wednesday. We
Yeah.
actually were not going to record at all this week, but due to scheduling last week and, just twist of fate, we're just like, oh, screw it.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of good content. However, Will, I have to tell you, as much as it's good content, I am very worried that I have forgotten everything that happened in Stranger Things, and even the boys. I'm still like, okay, what all happened?
Yeah.
And Superman and Lois, yeah, I probably know like 2 things that happened during that finale. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure, as always, once we start talking and the memory will get jogged and stuff. And I'm just glad we were able to record this week. I know there was a lot of great content, and I know we were originally planning on talking about Stranger Things later this month, but due to the Rona catch up with me, I was able to watch it this weekend, and here we are.
Yeah, that's another weird thing. We were doing scheduling last like 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about how like, oh well, we have to skip this week due to travel plans, and then we have all of this content because of Thor, which you're gonna have to remind me I have to go see.
Starts Friday.
I know Thor is happening, but a part of me doesn't realize it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But and Stranger Things, we were gonna kick it off for 2 weeks, which is hilarious because I binged it the first night it dropped because I was so worried about spoilers. This is the first time in a very long time I was like, no, Twitter, you will not screw me over and tell me what happens, because I've avoided all trailers, everything.
Yeah.
We will definitely talk about what I remember happening and my very, very mixed emotions on this whole Stranger Things finale.
Yeah. I have the same, and I know speaking of Stranger Things, I know there were some Stranger Things news today about the Duffer Brothers, and obviously Netflix is milking this cash cow because obviously, to no one's surprise, it of course is their like highest level streaming program to date. Anytime Stranger Things drop, it always like breaks Netflix's own records. As far as whatever preceded it, I guess it'll be Bridgerton, or something Ozark or whatever else. But yeah, they looks like
Oh no, I was just gonna say Squid Games.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah,
records.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Netflix breaks. Yeah, they basically break their own records each week.
Yeah.
with their hot IPs. But yeah, this is the I guess the Duffers are going to have several, like, I guess they formed a production company, I guess, called Upside Down Pictures, and they are going to be yeah I guess they said that
it's just weird. It's just I mean, they're pulling a Star Wars thing and a DC thing, and I'm just like, Duffer Brothers, you better have a good story to tell, like whether it's a prequel, sequel, distant cousin of Stranger Things. You cannot retell the same story, because FYI, that is one of the biggest complaints of the first few seasons of this show.
Yeah.
Like,
and even
story. They didn't do that this season. They did something else, which we'll get to. But this idea of, well, they're a success and capitalization on that success, and now we're not only doing our own, we're doing this additional project within this universe. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very anxious when people are like, well, we started with one story and now we're going to create a whole universe, because that works out so well.
Yeah. So I guess so there's that, and I guess the twins said that the idea behind this new company is they want to tell they want to go stories that meet at a place where ordinary meets extraordinary, big spectacle to coexist with character development and heart over cynicism. I'm paraphrasing what they said, but that was sort of the main points of what they're hoping to achieve with this new Upside Down Pictures and some of these. I guess there's spinoff. There's like a spinoff. And apparently, it's an original story that they have set in the Stranger Things universe. They're doing a stage play on Stranger Things as well. And then apparently there are like I think 2 or 3 original things that they're doing as well. One of them is like a adaptation of one original series, and then they're doing adaptations of Death Note, which is a anime manga series that apparently Netflix did this will be a live action adaptation, and apparently Netflix did a movie of this same anime some time ago
that failed disastrously.
Yeah. And then they're doing an adaptation of a Stephen King novel, The Talisman. It's part of their new 5 IP adventures with Netflix as they try to milk the Duffers for everything.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like this whole cash cow thing because I don't know how much magic is left. This show as good, and yes, it gets a lot of viewers, but it definitely has its highs and lows, especially as the seasons go on.
Yep. Yeah, because there is.
So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. I mean, because there is a sort of archetype. There is a sort of structure now that they can't. They've reshuffled it so many times now that season 5 they got to bring something totally different to close at least this part of the Stranger Things universe out. And I know we'll get. Well, do you want to go? You want to go ahead
now?
So, what were your thoughts about it?
Okay, they totally pulled a Lord of the Rings. I felt like this season ended 5 times within the same episode. I really didn't like Papa, like the episode Papa, which was the I forget what you call it, but yeah, that episode, it was short. It's still an hour and a half long, but it was short considering how long these episodes have been. I understand the purpose of it. You needed that quote unquote calmness to set everything up. But at the same time, we left off on such a climactic moment that got resolved within, I think, in the span of 5 minutes at the very start of that episode. And then we just had this prologue to the actual finale play out. So as much as I understand the mechanics of why that episode is needed and you can't take it out, and I'm not trying to say to throw that episode away, I'm just saying, like, I really, they built up so much tension that to then have it resolved so quickly and then build up more anxiety, or not anxiety, but building up to the actual finale, which the actual finale is, I think, 2.5 hours long. Yeah. And I was like, wait a second. This is 2.5 hours long. And yet we're having this like 3 storyline, oh my God, who's going to die moment, I think an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
And then we get an hour and a half of epilogue. I don't understand. So I had a lot of pacing issues with it. And I'm just going to get right into the very end. First of all, Sadie. Okay, Millie Bobby Brown got an Emmy Award nomination, if I'm not mistaken. Sadie should get one, okay? Because that girl acted her ass off this entire season. Probably the best character. And I actually thought that they were going to do it, I was mad at first that they were gonna kill her, but they didn't kill her. They put her in a coma, or maybe they didn't. But I love that character so much. I didn't want to go into season 5 without her.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, as much as Eddie's death was meaningful, he wasn't a core character, and I feel like they really needed to kill Sadie, or at least one of the core kid characters. Yeah, I know, kid killer. But it's just I feel like they played it way too safe in that moment that they really could have quadrupled the stakes for season 5.
Yeah. I agree with you on the Papa episode of the, because I watched it, I guess, Saturday, and yeah, I mean, there really were not, to me, any major. Really, the only real standout moment was when Papa died in that episode. I mean, I think, there, some of the things I had issues with is they still don't know what to do with Will and Jonathan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Will is just, okay, we get it. You love Mike. You weep. Yeah, I saw the best meme on Twitter as far as, where people poking fun at that whole thing, like, why doesn't Mike react? And the reason why is because Will and that bad haircut.
Well, Will and Mike in a bad haircut. Mike didn't have a lot going, but Mike was totally put on the bench this entire season.
Yeah.
And I personally fan of that choice. And I guess part of the reason why I didn't like the episode Papa is Mike probably had the most to do in that episode. I don't know. Call me crazy. But I completely agree with you. So what were your thoughts of that very random moment that felt like it should have been in a different season entirely between Jonathan and Will? Like, that came out of nowhere. Like, it was towards the end.
Yeah.
And like, all of a sudden Jonathan's like, I'll always be there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the thing is, they're so out of so what's frustrating to me is it's like we can only have one openly out character in this show with Robin. And it's like, okay, and they keep teasing with Will. I don't know if it's like, we know he is gay. Just go ahead and I guess that's what they were, I didn't know, like, were they gonna do this heartfelt moment between the brothers, and and to your point about them saying safe, this is where I think they went safe again, because they had this heartfelt moment between Will and Jonathan, and then I was like, oh, and then I was like, will they do it there? Will they do it? I kept, I was really hoping that they would just go ahead and let Will share what he's feeling and in that moment, and then I felt all this, they have this moment, and then there's really no real payoff other than just the real, very, okay, we got to have something for these two guys to talk about moment. And then, and then they went on. I just felt that was in a good scene and a good emotional moment that was wasted in that particular episode. Because even in the van ride, when they were in the desert with Will and Mike, and their talk, sharing that moment, and Will finally shows him the thing that he had sketched and all, and it was an important moment. It did do a setup thing of helping Mike realize hey, I need to tell Elle how I feel. So whenever they do end up later in the pizza parlor in the piggyback moment, and that's we needed that setup. But at the same time, it was just y'all are teasing it, and then you just left it on the table, and it just really pisses me off. Like I said, it's like I can only have one out character in the show, and maybe they'll do it finally in season 5. Who knows?
Well, I think they could also just kill Will in the final season. Because he was the first one to get captured.
Yeah.
In season 1.
True.
And the fact that now he's back in Hawkins and is, man, I would make a reference right now, but I don't think he would get it because he didn't watch the show. But he's all knowing now about what's going on. He's like, I still feel him, which means he was marked too. And so they might do a trade-off of like Will sacrifices himself, and then that's how they get Max back. I keep calling her Sadie, but they get Max back because he ultimately, I don't know. There's still a tie, and they played with it in season 2, and ironically I feel like these last 2 episodes reinforced why Will is an important character, even though they did all of that teasing with him being gay, which he may not just be gay, he could be bi. He actually may be in love with like both of them and wanting it to be a triangle type of thing, like a legit triangle, a throuple, if you will. Yeah. So I feel like they kind of randomly put that Jonathan and Will moment in there, and some other moments with Will, hinting at how much of a role he will be playing in this last season, potentially being the one to die, get killed off. One of the kids have to go.
Yeah. I like your, and I think you're right. I mean, I think of the people other than 11, Will has the most understanding of the Upside Down, and Vinka.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
well, and 11 and Max now. I mean, Max is kind of on the bench, and I will, as much as I'm so torn about this choice. Probably one of the standout moments of these 2 episodes was when they flashed to what Elle saw when they went into Max's mind while she was in a coma. That hit me really hard.
It did.
And then they did that like 5 times with other random stuff, and I got mad. Like, you can't keep doing this where you start a conversation, immediately cut, go to something else, make the viewer forget about it, and then like this is a 2.5 hour episode, guys.
Yeah.
Weird editing.
True. Yeah, that was yeah, you're right. It was the Lord. It definitely was the Lord of the Rings ending with the finale. But the one thing I like, getting back to the episode of Papa itself before we hit the finale, I did like I said, I did like the way that 11 finally did have that last bit of closure with the lab and with Papa himself, and they didn't do this thing where Papa got his absolution as he was begging for it, right there in the desert. I'm glad they didn't go that safe route and the predictable route and do that kind of like thing where Papa, where 11 says, "I forgive you, Papa." Da da da. She was like, "Nope, done with you. You messed my life too many times, and you're getting what you're getting what you deserve."
I fast forward through a lot of that. I will be completely honest. Like the whole toying with the helicopter, all of that. Like I was like, and then I was never invested in this whole like Papa, but I hate you kind of thing going on. So I fast forward through a lot of it.
Okay, well, yeah, I did that in the finale with the Russia stuff. So,
I was proud of myself. For most of the first episode, I watched, quote unquote, a lot of the Russian stuff, and then in the finale, completely fast forward through.
Well, let me put it this way: when there was dialogue, I listened. When they were just running through with the Demogorgon, then I was like, I don't need to see that. Yeah, but anyway, that's just
Yeah.
that was just kind of like move the action along a little bit, but getting to the finale and like talking about like stakes and head fakes, what they did. I mean, and I like you. I wondered if they were going to actually kill Max. I really did. I was on the edge of my seat during that whole sequence because I was like, oh fuck, they're really gonna do it.
The moment the headphones gets broken, they did that. So something I really appreciate about the structure of this finale, minus all of my critiques of it, is the football boyfriend of the girl who dies in the very first episode. I mean, you see him throughout the entire season, and you're kind of just like, oh, I don't care. He's new, whatever. That it's pointless. But how much of a role he plays in totally ruining this plan. It just I really liked it because it kind of for a lot of this, I was like, where is everyone else in Hawkins? Like, you got murder running around. Like, why are these people able to steal a camper and nobody sees them? Like, in the middle of daytime? Like, where are you all? But then I forget his name, but this character manages to stay present enough and you understand what he's going through and the misunderstanding that led him to become like totally come out this from the wrong perspective. And I thought that was really interesting. And Lucas, Lucas held court. Again, Lucas and Max, the actors who play those characters, really, for me personally, were the standouts this season.
Definitely.
And that like I felt more engaged during that fight sequence than the actual fight sequence with how do you pronounce it?
Vinka?
Vika.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean that. Yeah, because I mean that whole sequence there in the house definitely was. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was on the edge of my seat when Jason showed up, and the football and his teammate with Lucas's sister, blowing up the whole plan. She was in the yard and I was worried about her as far as like, is she gonna get away from this football player and what's he gonna do to her? And then when showing up the tension when Jason was holding up, had the gun pointed at Lucas, and like you said, when he broke the headphones and stuff, and you knew where that was going to go, that intensity really was just like at like level 11, 12, and as far as like the tension. And then, and you're right. I mean, that was a great through line throughout the season. Because it's just how oblivious these folks. All this stuff has happened in Hawkins for all these years, and they still think it's like tied to some, satanic cult or some other things, and it just shows how oblivious the folks are in town. And even after they have it, even after, when they think they've won the battle, but they ended up losing the war because, now the two Hawkins is now, getting merged into the Upside Down. They're still like completely oblivious about what these kids are doing, what's going on with these kids. And
well, I mean, they're completely like, the kids are one side, but it's more about like how there's something wrong with the town. And that's why another scene I really liked was when you see them return to Hawkins and all of the cars are going in the other direction.
Yeah, that was a great scene too.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, we've now, because there was this earthquake that happened, among other things, like that Hawkins is no longer safe, and I kind of wish there, like, that was a moment we left off on instead of everyone standing in the woods looking at I don't know, it was a weird moment. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's I really like that moment at the end of the day.
I did too. And I like the finale. I will say, I mean, for a 2.5 hour finale, I will say it is a buy for me. I really I mean, granted, even with the, a few moments where I did fast forward through some of the stuff in the Russian prison, even without that, even if, those were the only places where I felt like the story kind of lagged a bit, because I don't know, it was just the whole Hopper and Russia thing. It just, I mean, I get, and I get why that was an important part of the story. And I thought they did do a good job of reconnecting everything again to, like, why this aspect needed to, was important to explain parts here in Hawkins, and then what was going on, as they were.
Has been going on this whole entire time. Like, I think I still haven't really understand it. But I appreciate how they kind of, a lot of what happened in the finale and the information, the exposition you receive is kind of like, you think that this is just for this season. No, like, this guy's been pulling the strings the entire time. And that's why he's been our ultimate bad. And this season is really just setting up for, like, the final moment, which again is another thing that I'm still on the fence about, where I'm just like, so you guys, like, hurt him, but you didn't actually kill him. And now we actually have to have a showdown. I don't know.
Well, it's a showdown. I mean, and I guess that's the thing that I was saying that you alluded to earlier, with these spinoffs, and also just within the current universe, within the current show, we've had some variation of this story structure throughout the four seasons. And now going into the fifth one, don't tease us anymore with, like, oh yeah, someone's gonna die, unless somebody really is going to die. Because it's like, okay, y'all did it before. You didn't do, you even, you did the little heartfelt thing with Steve, this, whenever he was talking to Mike's sister, like, trying to, like, we're going to go down the trope of, like, this, one of our lead characters talk about how they want to have a family, and, to tease that up. And, and of course, at the end of the day, they still just ended up killing Eddie, who was someone they just added this season. So, don't do that. Don't do that in season 5. If you're gonna tease something like that, then, and I think you're right, it may end up being Will trading Will's life for Max's, or maybe 11 may end up sacrificing herself at the end of the day.
No. I don't buy 11 as a sacrifice.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem like a really sacrificial person to me. I mean, girl took forever to wake up and regain her strength, to the point where Max's sight was already taken, her limbs were already broken. Like, yeah. And then she has the audacity to bring her back, and, like, what kind of life is that? Just hooked up to a machine. Hey, I know. I clearly have a bias in this show, but
no,
you're right.
You're right. Max is my favorite character too, to be honest. I mean, she really, I was like, y'all killing me. Y'all gonna do this, and then, but then once I will say I did breathe a sigh of relief, even though she's in a coma. I know, and they're playing that up for dramatic effect for the 5th season, where we know she'll come out of it and all, but
well, maybe she won't. I see. Yeah. For whatever reason, a part of me is still like, I can't say for sure if she will come out of it.
I think she will.
I think she will be present, but I don't know if they are just not going to completely like, no, that girl dead. That girl dead.
Yeah.
Like now that she's actually able to, like, we're gonna hold her life in balance because of this whole thing we have going on with Victa. But when Victa's gone, then we can, like, Max is free to go off in peace. But we have a bunch of other shows to talk about, so we can't really spend forever with me just complaining. But yeah, that was Stranger Things season 4. Put a pin in that. Wait for, I feel like people are saying forever for season 5 to come out, but by that point I will have forgotten everything that happened in this season. So, you know, all good. All good. Another show ended recently that we haven't talked about in a while, so we're just going to do very cliff notes about this. Lois and Superman season 2 finale occurred. Guess what, guys? They saved the world. Okay, done.
Yeah. Yeah, really, the funny thing about this finale, I will say, it wasn't so much the main thing that at least reaction from it wasn't the story itself, but just one line that General Lane says that pissed everybody in the Arrowverse off, because hello, this show's not in the Arrowverse. That was really like, yeah, I mean, the finale itself was okay. I mean, Allie was pretty much a meh villain for the season. And you know, and I liked that they did not, at the end, the Langs remained a divided household. They didn't do the happily ever after, you know, with Kyle and Lana getting back together. And so, you know, I appreciate the fact that they did that. That was a very good thing for them to do, I think, as far as just from a dramatic standpoint, especially since they invested so much time in that story throughout the season. But yeah, I thought it was an okay finale as far as the finale itself. I mean, it was, you know, overall it was a very solid season. I think the Clark and Lois and the family are just, you know, really enjoy the character beats and things that they do with this story. And, you know, it's more about the family, and the action pieces of it is kind of like, yeah, it's there, but we're really, you know, I really, you know, from day one, I've always enjoyed the story about the family itself more so than the action pieces that they have in this series.
I think that's why this finale just fell a bit flat, is because they definitely focused way more on the action pieces, set pieces that I don't think is going to hold up for time at all. The CGI was pretty bad for me, but I agree. Like, it's not that this show has fallen down, but I feel as though there was a point this season where it escalated and there were a lot of tension, a lot of good character arcs happening, but they drug out this finale like in the span of the last 3 or 4 episodes way too long. And so by the time they get to the final showdown, you're just like, yeah, okay. And I also don't know if I feel as though the fact that this show ended in June, and we have The Boys going on, Stranger Things, we have all of this other content, that it's really hard to get the same momentum as a show that has 6 or 7 episodes as compared to one that has like 16 episodes. So I feel like the long running, how long this season went on for, it definitely did drag. But I'm curious. I think the show is, we'll see what they do next season. I appreciate they didn't do a lot of teasing for next season.
They didn't.
So I like that. It makes it more mysterious of where they're actually going to take these characters. But we're not going to spend too much time on this, because the boys is just, it's popping off.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
I mean, first we never talked about Herogasm.
No, we
and
didn't.
Then we had this episode, like 2 fantastic back-to-back episodes
Yes.
where I think we were DMing each other and we were just talking about Herogasm and the fact that that episode, like you knew there was going to be some weird sex stuff happening. It's called Herogasm for a reason. The warnings, everything. But the showdown, the first showdown between Soldier Boy and Homelander and Butcher and Huey, like that was a Herogasm. So I really
that was the Herogasm.
like it was an it was unexpected for them to clash that early, but the way all of these storylines continue to weave around each other and get pulled into each other and combine, it just blows my mind. Because you had so many different things happening, and in the midst of all of this, you had them recall a pivotal point from the first season, from the first episode, where Huey and A-Train have this moment where A-Train, who's realizing that, his Blue Hawk hurt his brother, crippled his brother, but A-Train ain't no saint.
Nope. Oh yeah,
He's done a lot of screwed up shit too, including killing Huey's girlfriend. And I honestly believed him when he apologized. But it is so aligned with this show for Huey not to believe him.
Yep. It was. It really was. I think A-Train it was a true heartfelt apology for him whenever he did that. But you're right. I mean, Ashley was like, oh no, don't come in here, trying to like ask for justice for your brother when when I've cleaned up all this stuff that you have done. I mean, you're right. I mean, they were calling back stuff from season 1, and I'm just really, it's just like, again, it's everything about this the Herogasm episode was just like genius. I watched it again yesterday because I just been a bit, and just to refresh, and like starting out with the Imagine.
The what?
Remember they started out with the how how like during the pandemic and everything.
Yeah, Imagine.
We had Imagine, and the Black Lives Matter and all that, and all just it was just totally everything about that episode. It was like near perfect episode of television, because you're setting up, it really just captures like the media manipulation of the suits and what this construct they've built up in this universe, and also just holding a mirror, just like the mirror of like Homelander when he's talking to himself. And
I feel like that moment in particular is another moment of dozens throughout the entire series, where again it goes back to celebrity and fame and this idea, we'll capitalize on this tragedy. Here's how we boost here's how we boost sympathy for our Homelanders, or give them, I forget what they call it, the points, goodwill points, by having these characters pretend like they're actually sympathetic for regular people who die, even though they contribute to the deaths of all these. Soup Lives Matter.
Yep.
But to go back with Blue Hawk and A-Train, and Huey, like to have his apology get rejected and then him go on that run of a lifetime, at his own risk, and then I feel like the only time we see him in the following episode that aired this past week is when we find out he survived the run because he got a new heart that was donated by Blue Hawk.
Blue Heart, yep.
he got a soup heart. So now, like, you have this character who we've seen throughout the entire series and who have had very empathetic moments towards, and then moments where you're just like, dude, you're an asshole because you're a soup. But him not being able to be a part of the team, the way he was, like, he's been a fish out of water this entire season, and then to be faced with what the reality is, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here, but my point is I really like A-Train continues to be a character that I feel like in the very first season, I was like, okay, he'll be like out of the show, or he won't be that pivotal, but he continues to worm his way in. It's like, no, I'm a very three-dimensional character, and they're using him very well.
They're using him very, very well. Yeah, I thought, with the, that to me, that was just really like shows how they own these people. I mean, they, that they have, and like you're saying, the superficial nature and heartlessness of, like,
But they want to be owned.
Yeah, but no, but it's just
to say it. But legitimately, A-Train and Homelander, same type of person. Like, A-Train actually got to experience a lot of the season with the thought of, like, what life would be like if I didn't have my powers, because he couldn't use his powers at the risk of his life. So, but now he not only is alive, but he's able to use his powers. But he does recognize, like, how that power can be abusive and corrupted.
Yeah, and at what cost? Because now, like, the very thing that, as A-Train was trying to, like, get, become woke, I guess, for lack of a better term, and really, really see what really see the cynical corporate machine that bought is, and really trying to, like, it's this philosophical debate you hear sometimes of, like, where he's trying to, like, improve things from within the system, whereas Huey and Butcher and everything else, like, we're going to tear down the system. And you're seeing that war going on, and A-Train's is the personification of it. Like you said, he's a real they really have made him into a real three-dimensional character here. And so now he's like, he's gonna, so he now he's got, like you said, he saw his life without powers, and then in that moment he was just so enraged, with what happened with Blue Hawk. He, like, I'll just risk it all, and I'm gonna tear the system down, and he kill Blue Hawk. But then they took the one thing from Blue Hawk to like give A-Train the ability to do the thing that he, prior to all this, made him special in his eyes. And now he's got to, like, realize, like, oh, the very thing that I had this epiphany where I'm tearing it down, now it's giving me life again to do this. So is he going to use this to, like, continue to try to change things within the system, or is he going to use it to, like, bring the system down? I mean, it's just a great thing that they've, like, set up with this, with them donating Blue Hawk's heart, putting Blue Hawk's heart in A-Train's chest.
Right. And to move on from a three-dimensional character, we're going to talk about two-dimensional characters, because, oh my God, Black Noir's cartoons. Like, I'm serious. I was so happy to see every Black Noir scene play out in this most recent episode, just because I wasn't expecting cartoons.
I wasn't either.
I was just like, oh, so we get some musical action this season and cartoon Space Jam happening. But the more I think about the episode and those cartoons in particular, it didn't just show you, it wasn't just about, they were able to combine exposition from one person's perspective who does not talk. Through, and at the same time allow this character work to play out. And I mean, every time they cut to like, no, guys, don't forget, he's literally in a rundown place by himself. Like, this is all in his head, or whatever is left of his head. And they did it purposely, not only for his character, but for Soldier Boy as a whole as well, to really explain, no, this is what happened. And this is how abusive and horrible Soldier Boy was in reality, which makes all the sense of why he's Homelander's father.
Yep.
Which okay, call me crazy, and I never said this in an episode, so you can say like, no, she didn't, but for whatever reason, I thought that was already known. I thought people would, like, maybe not Butcher and Huey, but I kind of, like, I don't know, there was something about it where I'm just like, I mean, as soon as I said it out loud, I was like, yeah, okay. And that's why the twist didn't blow me away, or I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. It was because I was like, no, that makes all the logical sense in the world.
Yeah, no,
it's not an, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. It was more like, well, duh.
Yeah, I had the same reaction. I you know, that it was like, it didn't blow me away. It just seemed like, yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, seriously, 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you're right. You never did say this before in any other episode, but when you think back to the season and you think about, like, you know, we did talk about how Homelander and Maeve and Soldier Boy and the Crimson Comet, you know, they were tracking it like all season. When you stop and think about all the things that led to that moment where Homelander, you know, when we get the reveal.
Well, all serious, because I mean, the last season was all about Homelander being a father, and then we get this incredible moment between Maeve and Homelander this episode, where, oh my God, this is why Maeve is a great character, because she squares off, and like, I was asking, why is Maeve still alive? Like, what is going on here? I've been questioning this entire season, and she asked the same question because she's smart, and he definitely explained why. He definitely explained why. He wants that womb. He wants the eggs.
He wants the eggs. Yep.
He wants the eggs. Man, which does explain, but like, how long has Maeve been captured? Like, dude, it wouldn't take that long to harvest eggs. Like, what are you doing here?
That's true. And maybe, but I guess Homelander's been, you know, busy out there, like, going off script at campaign rallies and you know, getting his ass handed to him by Huey and Butcher and Soldier Boy. But so maybe it finally got around to it where he's just like, okay, I need to like show. But that to me, that moment was definitely an all-timer moment for me as far as this series. Whenever, you know, is that concealer?
Yeah.
You know, and Yeah.
I'm
And it's
I'm happy today because it's the first time I've seen you afraid, which
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I didn't think that it would be able to they would be able to ever top the character moments, the amount of character moments that happen in a single episode after Herogasm, but
Mhm.
this episode 7, I have to say, is brilliant.
Yeah.
Just because while you have all of this stuff, like all of the critical moments with Homelander, the A Train reveal, the octopus sex session with the Deep, who
Yep.
is amazing. You also have this great thing play out that I wasn't expecting with Butcher and Huey,
Mhm.
and Butcher is stuck in his past and relives some of the most traumatic moments from it, that involve his abusive father and his brother who he left behind, and which just reinforced why this dynamic, this father son brother, whatever you would have it, relationship that Butcher and Huey has built over the past 3 seasons is like the core of the show.
Yeah.
Which is just heartbreaking when Annie tells Butcher what the Temp V is doing to their minds, and at the end of the day, Butcher, being Butcher, doesn't tell Huey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is leading him down this path.
Yeah. That was a real, like, I did, it's consistent with Butcher, and just how at the end of the day it's all about the mission. But it was very heartbreaking after, like you said, getting that trauma and moment, and seeing, because I think they touched on it some last season with Butcher and his father on the balcony, if I recall. But then, we see what happened to Liam, and then Annie shares that with him, and then he just like, we got to get some more V. And I was like, no, no, no. But I wonder if, like, with Kimiko getting her power, well, but she already had, but see, the thing is, with Kimiko getting her powers back, she already had V in her. And then, because I think, if I recall, if a regular person takes normal V, it will kill them anyway. So, I don't know if there's, like, now that they've taken this.
People have speculated what you're hinting at about how they still have more permanent V available that potentially one of the characters could take during that season finale.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's, that's the escape hatch that they will have, so that they don't die. But it's just, again, it's just like, it just shows how flawed Butcher is, and also, we've dealt with this throughout this season with Butcher and Mother's Milk, and why Butcher is like, you're the real heart of this team and keeping this thing going, because Butcher knows at the end of the day he's just a worthless dirtbag that will do everything, and he needs to be the consciousness of the team, so that hopefully he can pull Huey back to being the Huey that Annie fell in love with, and won't continue to take the V. And that was another, speaking of moments, even in episode, and here back in Herogasm, when Annie and Huey are, when Huey teleports Annie out of the house. I mean, that was another strong character moment where Huey really, where, he was like, was really honest there too about, like, it did bother him that he was always getting saved, and he was lying to Annie about how he felt and stuff. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, these 2 episodes are just really just amazing character episodes that, why this show really just hits above so many things that's out there on television, and why, like you were saying earlier, why it's hard for for other things to really shine over that because it's just so strong.
Yeah, it's
it just casts such shadow.
It's impressive to have a character, a villain like Homelander, who we spoke to it last season, if I recall correctly, where he's a horrible person, but a part of me as a viewer, I have hope for humanity in him. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
I should have 3 seasons. He's done horrible things, and yet I'm still like, you're still good. There's still a speck of goodness, and at the same time, anytime he is with a character, especially not a character without powers or even with powers, I'm just like, dude, you better be careful because you don't know if he's going to kill you.
Right.
I mean, like the conversation with Maeve, conversation with I think her name's Natalie. It's been 3 seasons, and yet I never know if he's going to kill a character in a scene.
Right.
I've never experienced that with other shows or characters, and it's just hats off. And I can totally understand why. At the end of the day, I'm like, the show will end once they remove him, right?
Yeah.
It will. Can do this again.
Yep. That'll be the end of the show. Yeah, that's exit stage left because you can't. With no Homelander, there's no The Boys.
Yeah, I don't know. Be just a very, very long epilogue season of like, yeah, okay. Just wanted to know where everybody rounded up, but
yeah.
On that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me on Twitter at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and visit our website, www.cnnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, or wherever